In a couple of hours, Jimbo, the winner of All-Stars 8 that we totally do not know who it is going to be crowned. Thus, I'm here to answer the question, who should win All-Stars 8? Emphasis on should, not will. If you are new here, first of all, welcome. How is this only the first time you've come across my channel if you're a fan of Drag Race? You might be wondering, who should win the season based on what? Well, whenever I have done these in the past, I've looked at 3 categories. The first one simply asks, which queen that's in the finale has the best track record? After the season and the competition have come and gone, who ended up earning the most amount of points based on this point system? It simply asks, who did the best overall? The second category is also based on track record, and here we ask who dominated the competition the most. Each week, queens can earn points, and after each episode, one or more queens will have the largest amount of points. This category simply asks who had the largest amount of points the most times. This category is often overlooked, but to me, it's probably the most important one. The last category is not competition-based, but more TV show-based. Who had the best storyline? The queens are produced a certain way, and thus almost all of them have either season-long storylines or mini storylines contained to specific episodes. We'll look at both of those and see who had a better storyline. There is also a bonus criteria of needing not to have been up for elimination more than once. Even though some people contest it, it still stands, but nowadays it's a little more complicated to explain. On All-Star seasons, this isn't really a strong need, given the possibility of a bottom 3 or a bottom 4. But when we disregard those instances, when somebody's up for elimination just because there's no other placement, both of the finalists of All-Stars 8 are eligible for the crown still. In the past couple of years, there have been twists and new game mechanics added to Drag Race, and All-Star seasons especially focus on crowning the queen that either use that twist to her advantage or that simply beat the twist. I have made a whole video about that, you should go and check it out later. Other than the fame game, well, it is technically just like a fan game. Other than the fame game, which we'll talk about later, the format of this season, other than the previously seen placements, includes voting against queens and being voted against, and the lip sync assassin twist. I think it's important to be able to adapt to changes in the competition, but I don't think that they should be your only accomplishment against your opponents, which is what Drag Race has valued the most in the most recent seasons. Our top 2 queens fighting for the crown this season are Jimbo and Kandy Muse. Let me just remind you again that this is the point system that we're using. Since Kandy won a maxi challenge most recently between the two, let's look at her track record. 2 wins, 1 high, 3 safe, 2 low, and 2 up for elimination placements, making her final score 29. Some of you might disagree with the possible low placements mentioned, but I explained them all in my week-by-week power rankings videos, so please watch those before commenting. So, Jimbo has to have earned more than 29 points in order to win this category. Well, Jimbo matched Kandy's final score in the season's 7th episode, or rather, after it. And by the end of episode 10, has a 10-point lead to Kandy. Thus, Jimbo wins the first category. However, that does not mean that Jimbo mandatorily wins the second category of dominating the most. There are only 2 queens that had the highest score per episode. One of them is the mandatory winner of first episode's maxi challenge, Kahanna Montrese. And the other queen, who had a streak of 9 consecutive episodes of being at the top, is... yeah, it's Jimbo. Kandy was only in the top 3 with her track record in the last 2 episodes, when there were 4 and 3 queens left. Jimbo wins this one. But it's not over for Kandy yet. For the third category of who had the best storyline, I would actually give her the win. Both Jimbo and Kandy were given clear storylines of being friendly rivals, with Jimbo being a little more of a hero and Kandy a little more of a villain. Sure, Jimbo had a storyline between season 1 of Canada's Drag Race over to UK vs. the World, with now her finally settling into a sort of a babyface role. However, I did not watch Canada's Drag Race, and UK vs. the World feels like a fanfic more than anything, and also a large portion of the fandom does only watch the US franchise, so to many of us, this was our first proper introduction to Jimbo, which the producers seemingly did not account for when editing her. She did not get much of a story, other than oh, she's a threat. Which is a good story, don't get me wrong, but there was never a conflict with her story. When we all knew that Jinx was winning All-Star 7 because she's the best true girl, like argue with the wall, there was still a lot of conflict with the plunger thing, and with design challenges, or any dancing and performing challenges, and also with a million twists at the end. With Jimbo, there wasn't much of that. The queens were not going to eliminate her because they knew what had happened when Pangina eliminated Jimbo. The only real growth in Jimbo's character on Drag Race was her winning a lip sync. But just go watch that lip sync. It's not really good. However, Kandy came in with a plan, with a strategy. She almost single-handedly took Heidi out of the competition, and she was always upfront to us about the fact that she had alliances, that she had strategies, that she knew how Drag Race worked, etc, etc. She was the main character of the season, and the season was set up to have her be beaten at the end. So, even though she wins this category, I'm not really sure if she's going to win the season. But when it comes to the twists and game mechanics specific to this season, first we have the voting system. Both Jimbo and Kandy got votes against them, 1 vote each. However, both Jimbo and Kandy got that 1 vote from the queen that got eliminated that episode, Jessica and LaLa respectively. So it was like a mandatory minus to their track records. Both of them also voted correctly, aka with the majority or with the queen that beat the lip sync assassin every single week, except once. Kandy in episode 1 and Jimbo in episode 3. Both of them cast their vote against Darien Lake. So they're even here. However, when it comes to beating lip sync assassins, Jimbo lost 3 lip syncs against Pangina, Chanel, and Jasmine, and won 1 against Silky. Kandy won lip sync against Angeria and lost a lip sync to the legendary actress of the fantastically campy Netflix show Glamorous, Priyanka. Thus, Kandy does have more of an edge here, winning 50% of her lip syncs and Jimbo only 25%. The tally at the end reads 2 points for Jimbo and 2 points for Kandy. Yeah, it's a tie. Listen, I would not be surprised if they ended up doing a tie, both queens winning, but based on everything we have watched, and if we account for the fact that the only place where Kandy beats Jimbo fully is in the storylines and in the lip syncs, and Jimbo's strongest storyline this season was about her winning a lip sync, I'm leaning more towards Jimbo. So, who should win All Stars 8? I'm saying Jimbo. Before we end the video, I would also like to talk about the Fame game. It really is simply just a twist in the season that is a publicity stunt in a way. The more people tweet and talk about the Fame game, and the more that they vote for the queens, or rally for their followers to vote for these queens, the show gets more eyes on them. But it is also nice of them to allow the eliminated queens to show off their looks, that in the previous season they would have only been able to show off on their Instagram accounts, or nowhere, really. So please don't think that I'm trying to influence who you might want to vote for in the Fame games. I'm not going to vote, but if you were to ask me who should win the Fame game, I'm going to give you 3 answers. The first answer is, it should be the queen that was screwed over by the top 2 finale. Jessica Wald should have been in the finale of this season. I don't think that she would have won, but it is a little weird that they went for a top 2 finale, which is something that they have never done. This is the first time in the Drag Race history that we have 2 queens competing in the finale, so her getting eliminated right before the finale at the end should count for something. The second person that I think should be the winner of the Fame game is the queen that, other than the top 2 of course, had the best track record. And that person is LaLa Ri. In the second half of her time on the season, and of course in this last episode, I think that she was one of the few that actually showed a talent that is not just like performing in drag. She showed that she's an amazing dancer, she showed that she had a lot of charisma, that she had a lot of stage presence, and again, her performance in the competition should be awarded in some way. And the third answer is, I would say the most subjective one, because I based it off whose runway looks I like the most, because that was kind of the prompt for the eliminated queens. Impress the viewers with your runway looks and you might get $60,000. And the queen that impressed me the most out of the eliminated queens with her looks is Kahanna Montrese. So really, any of Jessica, LaLa, and Kahanna could win the Fame game and I would be happy. Obviously, if anybody else wins, I would also be happy because who cares? And that's it. That's the video. Now what do you think? Do you think that Jimbo should win or that Kandy should win? Again, I'm emphasizing the should. However, I would also like to hear your thoughts on who you want to win. Sound off in the comments, don't forget to like and subscribe, why not? And thank you for watching.